be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. It's a good deal, it helps support the show, and if you do so, you'll be entered in to win a Core Set 2020 booster box thanks to Flipside Gaming. For excessive details, you'll find links for that information in the description below. What's up, Planeswalkers? Theoric 6 with some M20 talk, because as I've expressed several times, don't give a damn about the meta right now, and I'm super excited. Only a few days to go before the streamer event, which I will be a part of, and then this releases on the 2nd. I cannot wait. That said, I have been talking about a big red deck because of lovely Chandra here. There we go. And so I decided to try and make this. I saw Jeff do a DeckTech with wolves. Check that out. And I saw Merchant do a DeckTech about mono black aggro. Check that out. But I'm going to be doing big red because I want to have this be a thing. That said, I've not played big red before in like any format, so it's very possible I've screwed this up completely. Also, we don't know what the meta is going to be, yada yada yada. We're going to hop into the DeckTech. Now, we're playing 3 main deck Shivan Fires. I decided to not go with Shocks and Lightning Strikes because I felt that we should be able to win games with the power of our Planeswalkers, essentially. And I didn't think that needing a burn spell in the main deck was going to be necessary, like, for reach, right? I don't think that this deck is going to need true reach, as it were, to finish off control decks and things like that. So we're just going with the more versatile removal cards, and Shivan Fire is a fantastic one because hit something early, and during the mid game we can go ahead and deal 4 damage to it for a bit of a premium. 1 Thaumatic Compass. We have plenty of mountains in this deck, luckily. But what's really nice about this card is getting it to flip means that you're going to be able to, 1, ramp yourself out a little bit, which is cool. You know, go to 8 mana, you get to do more things with like Regulator and stuff like that. Who cares? But most importantly, it allows you to have a nice stopgap against the strongest thing on your opponent's side of the board. Then 3 main deck Treasure Maps. Treasure Maps is a fantastic card at just making sure we're going to be able to hit the cards that we need on time. Once it flips, we're going to be being able to just draw cards, which is something that red wants to do. So it's just a pretty helpful card. 2 Lava Coils and 2 Chandra's Triumphs. I wanted to test out Chandra's Triumph because it's an instant, and we have 5 total Chandras in the main deck. I was like, if we're playing Chandras, I want to play with Chandras, right? So hopefully this card is actually good. It may just be better to play Lava Coils instead, because as we know, the Exile Clause is often pretty important. That said, we do still have a couple Lava Coils to make sure we have that in there, but Chandra's Triumph being instant speed's nice. The fact that it can hit a Planeswalker is actually pretty powerful, right? If we have, for example, a Chandra Acolyte of Flame, or even if we have an Awakened Inferno, and our opponent plays any Planeswalker, we can just dome it for 5. Except for 3 mana Teferi, because can't really cast things at instant speed when you're going against 3 mana Teferi, but whatever. 2 Chandra's Regulator. We do have an additional one in the sideboard, but I wanted to only have 2 because this is a legendary artifact. What's really nice about this card is we can just discard cards. Unfortunately, we can't discard our artifacts or our 4 colorless Planeswalkers, but we can drop a mountain. We could drop a red card, draw a card. That's going to be very helpful at just weeding through the cards that we just don't need, and it does have a relatively decent cost, right? Only 1 in tap is not awful. But what's really nice about this card is that when you activate the loyalty ability of a Chandra Planeswalker, you can pay 1. If you do, copy that ability. Seems damn good. So, for example, let's say we have Chandra Awakened Inferno on the field, and our opponent has a bunch of big dudes. Activate Chandra's -3. Activate Chandra's Regulator, we get to deal 6 damage to all non-elemental creatures. Now, are elementals going to be a thing that we have to worry about? Maybe. But we do have cards to take care of that, which I'll talk about in a bit. But just the ability to have these extra abilities from our Chandras for 1 mana, like 1 additional mana, is pretty top-notch. We're running 2 Saheelis, sorry. And the reason we're running 2 Saheelis is, as you can probably tell, we don't run very many creatures. A lot of non-creature things. So we should be making a lot of servos, which is going to be helpful. 1, just keeping the ground settled. I did initially have the other 4 mana Karn in this deck, but I needed to find spots for other things. So it's possible that we should be maybe making use of her servers a bit more, or just trading her out. But just the ability of having nuisances against your control opponents, as well as nice blockers against your aggro opponents, seems just fine to me. And I guess for what it's worth, you can get an additional scry by turning something into a treasure map. Well, for what it's worth, we do have a artifact sideboard, so you know, get some advantage there. We are running one Chandra Acolyte of Flame. We're only running one because she's relatively weak. Being able to put extra loyalty counters on our red Planeswalkers is pretty cool. You know, we'll be able to ultimate our things faster. Our Sarkhans, well, not Sarkhan doesn't, but you know, our Jayas and things like that. So that's decent. Making 2 elemental tokens is not great because of the fact that you have to be aggressive with them. So that's probably not something we're going to be using too often, unless of course we're against a control deck, in which maybe we just want to hurt our opponent. But what's really nice is that -2 can allow us to buy back these smaller spells that are meant to help us keep board presence. And one really nice thing about her is that she can buy back Flame Sweep. Flame Sweep is very similar to Fiery Cannonade, except that this hits all of your opponent's creatures. Doesn't matter if they're pirates, it hits all creatures except for mine that have flying. We have a couple creatures, well, 4, that have flying. Rekindling Phoenix. This is just a good creature. Your opponent has to exile it. Obviously, there's a bunch of exile and bounce in this meta, but they do have to exile it. And if they can't, then it's just a nuisance. It's an absolute nuisance, and it's a pretty decent blocker as well as attacker. That's why I think it's going to be pretty helpful in this deck. I did go through a ton of cards, which I'll probably talk about a lot more on the 1st of July, when I actually do the streamer event and, you know, go through my process of making each of the decks and things like that. But Rekindling Phoenix seems like a kind of a win-win in this deck. 2, Karn the Great Creator. I feel like maybe it should go to 3 because of the fact that we are modifying our sideboard in order to house this wish board as it is. But I think Karn is fine where it is. Making it so your opponent's artifacts can't be activated, probably not going to matter that much. For what it's worth, there are these new colored artifacts that do things, etc., etc. But it's a thing. Making something become an artifact, probably not going to matter too much. You know, you don't really want to turn your Chandra's Regulator into a creature. You can theoretically turn like a treasure map or something into a creature if you really need a blocker, but what we're really here for is our -2, and I'll get to the sideboard in just a second. But our -2 just allows us to get silver bullets against many decks. I had to run 2 Repeated Reverberations. Being able to essentially triple up on spells or Planeswalker abilities is just fantastic. And it's not red Planeswalkers. That's something to note, right? We can theoretically like cast this -3 Ugin and just pew permanents. You could freaking Sarkhan and make a ton of dragon. Well, 3 dragons. You know, that's so valuable. And you can just cast this into a Flame Sweep for literal 9 damage to the board. It's just so nice. It is possible that I should be running like a Lightning Strike because of this. I did initially have Fight with Fire as well as Banefire in the main deck as well as the sideboard, but I did end up cutting out Fight with Fire. There's still a single Banefire in the sideboard because Uncountable Burn is pretty good, but being able to, you know, triple up on burn, direct damage to your opponent's face, is something that I think is probably decent. But for right now, I want to make sure that I can actually handle aggro, and then I'll dial it back as I go and add a few more control hate cards. And something of that would be Lightning Strike because it would give me some damage. But Repeated Reverberation is just so good when we're running like 14 Planeswalkers, something like that. 14, yeah, I was right. 1 Jaya, as well as, oh no, there's only Shire. 1 Jaya. We get to add 3 mana. We can only spend it to cast instant sorcery spells, but that's fine because we do have a decent amount of those in the deck. And because she has 2 pluses, we don't have to do that, right? We can also just discard up to 3 cards and draw that many cards. It isn't card advantage because she's something that I can do over and over again. And initially the deck had the Cavalier that was red, and I was able to just like discard lands, and there was like a really tiny put lands in the graveyard theme, and I was like, it was too cute. But it's possible that we can go that way. But what's really nice about Jaya, very similar to Chandra's Regulator, is that you can just dig for things that you need. If you have somehow a hand of 3 lands, just go like plus up Jaya. No, Oh wow, I got the board wipe I needed. Now I'm going to go ahead and cast this board wipe, right? And then, of course, because we have Chandra, Acolyte, Flame, we can theoretically get to her ultimate a little bit more, where we just get to flashback all of our instant sorceries. And once again, this is another reason why maybe I should be playing some main deck burn spell, be it Banefire or Lightning Strike or something like that. 2 Sarkhan the Masterless, really nice. 5 mana essentially for a 4/4 flying dragon that like damages your opponent's stuff when they attack. The +1 is a good win condition in a deck like this that's running 14 Planeswalkers. I just think it's a pretty good card in a mono red deck. Ugin. We need to be able to deal with enchantments. This kills pretty much everything that we need to care about. So, yeah. It's also card advantage for what it's worth. And it works with our colorless spells, so our Karn cards are going to be cheaper. Our treasure maps, when we top deck them, they're just going to be straight up free. So, you know, stuff like that is also helpful, but mostly here for that advantage in the -3. And then last, but of course not least, we have Sharon, Awakened Inferno. Can't be countered. Right there. Immediate 4 of. So many control decks right now. For what it's worth, not all of them playing a bunch of counter spells, but this card is so damn strong against control. Since it can't be countered, and the way priority works, you cast this, it's on the stack, your opponent can't counter it. They can maybe do other things, but they can't counter it. It hits the field. Immediately, you have priority. Well, if it's your turn. +1. Your opponent has an emblem that just deals damage to them every single turn. There are no ways of getting rid of emblems. If they kill Chandra after you've made this emblem, all right, 6 mana for essentially discard plus constant damage. Not the best, but it's also not the worst. Also, -3, board wipe, -6, -X. I didn't say 6. I didn't say anything else. -X. Hit a thing. Hit a thing. That's all you need to do. Hit a thing. Unfortunately, it's only creature Planeswalker, but it exiles, and it hits Planeswalkers. And if you repeat Reverberation, and then -X, you can kill a bunch of things. Wow. Moving on to our mana base, it's pretty simple. We have fucking some number of mountains. I think it's 17. Technically, with like 2 red, I think we want 18, but I really wanted to try out Cryptic Caves. You know, we're playing a mono red deck. Typically, I found mono red to be really not great on the whole card advantage thing. So I was like, I have a ton of ways, as you can see. I have a ton of ways in the deck to actually just try and make sure I'm not drawing dead constantly. We are running 25 lands. You know, we do have several 6-drops and things like that. It's possible I should be running 26, but fuck that. 2 Blast Zone, I think, is pretty helpful. We have Karn's Bastion. But Blast Zone is just really nice to utilize our excess mana to be able to deal with things that we otherwise don't have the main deck ability to. Interplanar Beacon, we have 14 Planeswalkers. Any extra life gain is going to usually be fine, and hopefully it doesn't screw up our red mana too much. It's possible I should be cutting down on like 1 Beacon or 1 Bastion or something like that, and have that 18th mountain, but it should be okay. Should be. Well, we'll see. Obviously, we'll see on the first when I play it. But Karn's Bastion, we have 14 Planeswalkers. Proliferating seems totally fine. You know, being able to do more things faster seems pretty damn good. Onto the sideboard. As I said, this is a bit of a wish board, so I'll talk about the artifacts first, and I'll talk about why I'm running some of the other cards. So, 1 Fountain of Renewal, helpful if you're able to get this out relatively early against aggro, because it's something that you can just keep accruing. You could run Navigator's Compass instead, because that is a burst of 3, but if you... The reason I like Fountain of Renewal better is if you believe that you can live for 3 turns, you've already paid for it, compared to the Navigator's Compass, but it can go further than that, and that's one of the big reasons I like this card a little bit more than Navigator's Compass. A Sorcerous Spyglass, bring it in, it just hits Planeswalkers, very helpful. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. 2 Diamond Mares. Diamond Mare, fantastic if we're going up against an aggro deck. Mono white, mono black, mono red, mono blue, whatever. Bring in some Diamond Mares, choose red, gain some life. That's literally it. Additional Chandra's Regulator. You know, if we have Chandra and, you know, we top deck a Karn, we haven't seen this yet, we just go ahead and get this Regulator, and it should be okay. We might draw an additional Regulator later on, but it should be okay, because this card is probably going to eat a lot of bedevils. 1 Magic Scepter. It's a meme. It probably shouldn't be here. It'll probably be something else after a bit. It's very likely that I'm going to make the wish board a little bit smaller because, one, we only have 2 Karns, and 2, because we probably are going to want to have a bit more of a real sideboard. But Magistrate Scepter is funny. That's what's in here. Transmogrifying Wand. Words are very hard to say. Also kind of a meme. I think that we probably have a sufficient amount of removal in this deck that we're not going to need Transmogrifying Wand. So probably also going to get cut for other things, but it's in there for now. Chaos Wand is not a meme. Bringing this in against control is just fun. You can go ahead and just cast their own cards. You know, what's better than activating Chaos Wand, getting a Thought Erasure, and taking something away from your opponent? What's better than that? Nothing. It's so good. For what it's worth, you can also just you can do this instant speed if you want to like try and get a counter spell from your opponent. You can get removal spell from your opponent even if you don't cast it. It just goes on the bottom, right? It goes on the bottom of the library. They're gonna have to shuffle the library, which there aren't a ton of ways, I don't think, in Standard. So that thing is just not something you have to worry about, and it gives you information about the likelihood that you're gonna have to deal with this card in a bit. So I like it. Then we have Godbearer Statue. This is one of those things that's real annoying for your opponent to deal with. Really good against your control opponent. That's pretty much it. Meteor Golem, I might actually make this like a 2 of in the sideboard because of how strong the card is. Being able to just come in, destroy something. We have a 3/3. With Ugin out, this is a 5-mana card, which makes it even better. Yeah, I like Meteor Golem in these types of sideboards. And Mizzium Take, I technically did forget about this. This is another card that you can bring against aggro if instead of trying to shut them down, you just need to kill them, right? Maybe you're at a point where it's not top decked per se, but you know, you're in a situation where maybe you have a single servo and it's just not getting the job done. You can just bring this in, turn it into a thing, turn it sideways. And if you cast a non-creature spell, which as I said, we have a ton of those in the deck, it can be a 4/3 and just keep hitting your opponent. And this is a decent win condition in that situation. Whether or not it's good, I don't know. It doesn't see any play right now, but you know, maybe this Chandra style deck is what it needs. So for other things, we have a single Banefire. Bring this in an actual sideboard against control, where you can just dome your opponent. You sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Essentially, you know, the plan I think against control is you just kind of try and whittle them down enough where you can just Banefire them for 5 and have them die. Excuse me. Fry is a card that, once again, you kind of bring against control because you hate white and blue. It kills things, but unfortunately, it doesn't kill 3-mana Teferi. And even though it can't be countered, which makes this really great, you can't kill a 3-mana Teferi on their turn, which sucks, but whatever. And then we have 2 Krenkos. Krenko is just another control card. As you can see, by the fact that these are kind of our only... Well, these 3 cards are kind of our only bring-ins against aggro. Makes me think that this deck shouldn't have any problems with aggro. It could, obviously, but I feel like it shouldn't. Yeah, I think that this deck is going to have its most issue against control. And based on how well it does against aggro, I can dial that back or forth and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, this is the deck. I hope you all enjoy it because I think it's interesting. Obviously, this is a deck I've never tried to make before. This is with some new cards that I have no idea how well they'll actually do. And obviously, we have to see how the meta shakes up. But I think this is a really interesting place to start from. This is a deck that I'm going to be streaming I will be streaming on YouTube for the July 1st event. I usually stream on Twitch, but for this, I do want to make sure I hit the largest audience. So I will be streaming here on YouTube for that sponsored Wizard of the Coast event. Let's see an opening hand for this. 4 lands in hand, Treasure Map, Lava Coil, Chandra. Seems pretty damn good. Let's get a new hand, shall we? 3 lands in hand. We got a Shivan Fire, Repeated Reverberation, Sarkhan, and Ugin. A little bit worse, for sure, but we do at least have a Shivan Fire. Let's go and draw a card. Lava Coil, decent. Chandra, we can cast that. Can't cast Phoenix yet. Can cast Phoenix now. You know, I'm just saying. Looks pretty good to me. It's pretty good to me. We'll see, obviously, how it does, but I would like to thank my lovely patrons, especially Salamander, Croft, Zin, and Rexel for the continued support. If you'd like to join them, support the channel, you'll find links to that down in the description below, or you can just press that join button, become a channel member. Gives you perks. Same perks as patrons, except technically different. In the description, as I said previously, you'll also find ways to enter that booster box giveaway. I was going to say gift box for some reason. My brain is broken. And you'll find links to my Interp account where I host all my deck lists, including this one. And you'll probably see some other new ones crop up as I'm kind of brainstorming for these decks. And my Discord server. We chat and play games, and you can ask me to make certain decks. And I can maybe do that. So go to my Discord server, damn it. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, go and tap that like button, add a subscription to your mana pool, cast a comment in the comment section down below. Pass the turn and the video to some of your friends, and of course, until next time, I will be one.